These are tools for maximizing cognitive and linguistic lesson engagement. They came from Dr. Kate Kinsella. My name is Beth Luttrell, and I'm the coordinator of teacher induction in the San Mateo Foster City School District. In the old paradigm, the teacher asks a question, and a few students raise their hand. The same students tend to participate, and some students go all day long without speaking in school at all. Unfortunately, many of these are English learners who need the most oral practice, but may not be quite sure of what to say. This is a structured, accountable response system. This or some other intentional system for structured, accountable responses should be used throughout the lesson all day, every day. In this module, we will discuss setting up and facilitating partner interactions. We will introduce the idea of using a sentence frame to guide oral fluency, and we'll suggest some strategies for monitoring student interaction and learning productivity. This is an excellent formative assessment tool, as when you monitor student interactions, you will note where there is mastery of learning, where instruction needs to be modified, and for whom and how that modification must happen. Here are the procedures for precision partnering. First, make eye contact with an elbow partner and then determine who will be partner number 1 and who will be partner number 2. If there must be 3 partners in one group, then they will have 1 number 1 partner and 2 number 2s. The partners then will be instructed to follow the 4 L's. The first one is look. It's important to have eye contact with your partner. Next, lean slightly towards your partner so that your body language indicates that you are interested in what they have to say, keeping in mind that body language facilitates your ability to attend to what your partner is saying. Next, use a low voice. In the next slide, we will discuss a strategy for teaching students how to use a low voice. The 4th L is listen. Again, the 4 L's are look, lean, low voice, and listen. It's important to teach the procedures for voices so that noise is managed during partner sharing. To teach the voice procedure, the teacher begins, "This is a whisper," and the students repeat in the same voice, "This is a whisper." The teacher models, "This is a partner voice," and together the students respond, "This is a partner voice." Finally, the teacher models a public voice, and students practice that strong voice that can be heard across the room. In his book, Conscious Classroom Management, Rick Smith offers a strategy for encouraging a public voice. He says, walk toward a student and stand close if you want them to speak quietly. Move away from them if you want them to speak in a public voice. You also need to teach and enforce the procedure for coming back together at the end of a partner interaction. If you use a silent signal like a hand raised or 0 noise, be still and silent as you give that signal. If you ring a chime, let it resonate. The chime is instead of your voice, so let the chime do your work. If you have another strategy, use it consistently and make sure that the verbal input matches the nonverbal cue. If you have a variety of inputs, use one at a time. If that strategy doesn't work, wait or practice until it does work, but don't go through a litany of several cues back to back. Here is a discussion question. How might partners show that they're actively listening? Only instead of the word show, let's raise the academic level of the question by using a more precise or sophisticated word, like demonstrate or exhibit. How might lesson partners demonstrate that they are actively listening? It's important to model academic language and also to show how you edit language to move from common toward academic vocabulary as you set up the prompts. In the Think, Pair, Share sequence, students should take some time to write ideas that are evidence of their thinking before they share. In this slide, let's brainstorm some active listening behaviors. It's important to give a few examples before students begin their work, like, a partner demonstrates active listening when he or she looks interested. A partner demonstrates active listening when he or she repeats my ideas. Or a partner demonstrates active listening when he or she records my thoughts. A teacher says, if you agree with my ideas, you may write those, and please find some additional strategies for demonstrating active listening. Language learners in the emerging stages will have a model that they can repeat, and all students have the opportunity to add to the ideas that will become the academic discussion. This creates a low floor, high ceiling input that scaffolds for universal student success while providing opportunity for academic challenge for all students. One way to differentiate for varying levels of complexity is to offer some different prompts. Students then have time to generate ideas recorded in writing and practice oral language by sharing with a partner before being asked to articulate their idea to the entire class. By doing this, every student practices idea generation, writing, speaking, and listening, and every student is accountable to the prompt, and every student benefits by hearing the ideas of their partner as well as the ideas of the larger group as the teacher calls on nominated students or those who wish to share. We will discuss the large group share in the next slide. The next step in the process is to share written ideas with one partner. Partner number 1 begins about half the time and partner number 2 begins the other half. You might establish partners by referencing room landmarks. For example, partner number 1 sits closest to the door and partner number 2 closest to the whiteboard. In the first round, partner number 1 will read the idea on the paper and the second time say it with expression. It might sound something like this. A partner demonstrates active listening when she looks interested. Now, after practicing once, partner number 2 will look at the partner in the eye, lean a bit toward them and say with expression, in a low voice, a partner demonstrates active listening when she looks interested. Partner number 2 practices reading and then says the idea with expression. Sharing continues with partners taking turns reading from their written brainstorm, then speaking in complete sentences to answer the prompt that they have prepared. During this time, the teacher circulates through the room, listening to the ideas and asking specific students to share in the large group at the end of the partner time. By knowing that I'm going to share something that I have practiced, English learners speak with confidence. After the time for thinking, writing, and sharing with a partner, it's time to share an idea that you said to or heard from your partner. The teacher will jumpstart the conversation by calling on students nominated in the partner activity. Students will use sentence frames to speak in complete sentences with academic language. After nominated students have shared, the teacher might call on another student to share, or have students call on each other. It is important not to raise hands until the end of the activity when the teacher asks, "Is there anyone else who has something to share?" Another strategy is for the teacher to ask all partner number 2s to stand up. The teacher calls on one of those partners who shares what they said or what they heard during the partner sharing time. The teacher might say, "If your idea was similar, you may sit down." At this point, about 3/4 of the students generally sit, and the teacher calls on another partner who's standing. Another strategy is to call on a student you nominated to jumpstart the conversation and then have that student call on someone from another quadrant of the room, or boys may call on girls and girls may invite a boy to share. Equity sticks might be appropriate after nominated students have shared. It's a fairly efficient way to randomize students, but be careful. If you have a reluctant student who's called on to share before they have time to practice, the exercise can be daunting. The important consideration is in the nomination of students. By listening to the ideas, the teacher has validated the student response, and the teacher is mindful of nominating all students over the course of a day or a week. The teacher is especially mindful of nominating English learners who most desperately need the oral practice, but that student might be nominated to speak second or third. Another strategy is to ask students with fairly predictable responses to speak first. Nobody wants to follow a highly sophisticated response with one that's fairly simple. I hope that this series of slides helps you understand a little bit about the Accountable Academic Partnering Protocol from Dr. Kate Kinsella. If you have questions, please do not hesitate to ask for clarification or even demonstration in your classroom.